Hello everybody, my name is Kushagra and today my entire goal is to blur the already fine lines which exist between reality and fiction. And to do that, I have my poster here, of course. Now, whenever I talk about criminology, my mind cannot help but wander to one specific topic, psychopaths. Why exactly are they the way they are? What makes them do what they do? And is there no way to answer the question or find a cause other than delving into the whole debate of nurture versus nature? And the thing is that after the thousandth time you do it, it's a repetition and you just get bored. Whatever your opinions upon the topic may be, the fact is that psychopathy in its principles is rooted in the brain and its structures. Now, I'm not exactly a neuropsychologist, but there's a model of the brain here, and you can see four different spots highlighted. Each of these four areas have the key differences which exist between the brains of us normal people and psychopaths. The first spot you can see is the prefrontal cortex, which in psychopaths has been found to not only smaller, but also lacking effective neural connections. Now, this part of the brain is responsible for impulse control and decision making. The next spot, you have the amygdala, which is responsible for emotions, basically the perception and understanding and receiving of emotions. There are more differences which exist in the striatum and the hippocampus, which are responsible for the entire reward and punishment system, along with memory formation. Now, I'm sure that most of you will have realized by now that these four characteristics are things which make humans human. How can we imagine functioning without these processes on a daily life? You know, can that be something which can be used to justify the kind of actions which psychopaths usually exhibit? Anyways, the character which I've chosen here is Johann Liebert. He's from a manga called Monster. Now, to put it very simply, Johann is what people may call evil. And he has one single goal throughout the entire series, and that is to commit the perfect suicide. And to commit the perfect suicide, to him, it means erasing his past and erasing every single sign that he even existed in this world. And in the process of that, he ends up killing a lot of people who know of him and everybody else who had a role in his history. Now, the thing about Johann is that he's also a twin, which again raises extremely important questions about nature versus nurture, because his sister is on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. And Johann is the kind of character who barely ever appears on screen, but at the same time you can feel his presence throughout. As you can see on the poster, I've split the entire thing into four, and each goes over four different characteristics of the character. Now, and each trait I've linked with a single criminal. On the first slide, we have John Wayne Gacy. What I really want people to understand about Johann and also John Wayne Gacy is the fact of the childhood abuse and trauma. John, maybe he looks like a pretty stand-up guy, but then you learn about his guilt of raping and murdering at least 33 young men and boys. Under the hands of his father, John had a very abusive childhood, and similarly, Johann has also had, at multiple points you can see, where he recounts stories of how abusive his entire orphanage was, and having been abandoned by his mother at a very young age in a war-torn country, it has resulted in him having a very scrambled psyche. And we all must have also heard and read about how often researchers and scholars can claim that childhood abuse is something which can affect the entire lifetime development of an individual. The next trait which I would like to go over is manipulation. I'm sure that most of you can recognize him, right? That's Charles Manson. And most would know him because he's a cult leader who somehow manipulated, brainwashed, convinced, whatever you want to say. He basically convinced 5 of his followers into committing a series of 7 gruesome murders. The most brutal of which was the victim, who was a very pregnant actress. Now, for the sake of entertainment, or rather, information, let's talk about somebody even more wicked. Here, the man with the long black hair is Shoko Arahasa. I'm sure that some of you may know of him. He's a cult leader from Japan, and what I really want everybody to know about him is the kind of things which his followers were willing to do in his name. So he is very well known for having indirectly murdered a family of 3 including a 14-month-old infant, by injecting acids and chemicals in them. And at another time, his followers released a chemical weapon into the middle of a city, which resulted in almost 300 people requiring immediate hospital treatment. One lady even fell into coma for 14 years. Can you imagine the consequences and sheer loss of life if his plan had gone as it's intended? His biggest attack would be when he released the sarin gas into the Tokyo subway systems, and it resulted in 6,000 people being injured. Now, the most scary part is that this man did all of that without lifting a single finger of his own. We have one person who's able to interfere with the lives of so many just by controlling others. Johann also shows many different similar traits, wherein he talks about how he's able to isolate many other criminals and make them do his bidding. There's a scene which talks about how he orchestrated a massacre of over 50 people. When I was reading the manga, I thought that, hey, there's no way this can happen in reality, you know? I mean, it's just impossible. But then I read more and I learned about people like Shoko. The third trait which I would like to go over is about his charisma. So Johann, along with his charisma and manipulation, is somebody who is very easy to get along with. He is somebody who is very nice and charming. And the thing, can you skip to the next slide, please? And the next. Yeah, thank you. So over here you can see Andrew Cunanan, who is an extremely prolific serial killer because he was somehow able to get along with the cream of society, the elite of society, without raising any alarms. Simply because of the kind of fun personality and charming looks which he had, he was able to mingle with everybody. He specifically targeted extremely rich celebrities, and his most famous celebrity victim included Gianni Versace, obviously the founder of Versace. And Johann also here exhibits many similar traits, and you can see many people noting not only his physical attractiveness, but also the way he makes them feel. As in, people feel free, they feel complete, they feel whole when they are talking to him. Over here you can see a panel where he's cross-dressing in order to flirt with a few policemen, so he can gain some access to data. And this guy would basically stop at nothing to achieve the goals which he wants. The fourth trait, which I would like to go over, is that of dissociative identity disorder. Now, at multiple times, Johann has implied that he is a sufferer of the disorder known as DID. And on the front here, you had a lady called Juanita Maxwell, who seems like a very nice and timid lady until she brutally murdered her elderly neighbor. And after doing so, she claimed that it was her other personality. In a more infamous case, you have Billy Mulligan, who has been diagnosed with DID and schizophrenia and has been found to have at least 24 different and distinct personalities in the same body. He's also known as a campus rapist, and after committing the rapes, he claimed that another personality of his committed the said crimes. And the funny thing is that that personality was a lesbian. So the thing is that DID is something which can be faked easily. And it's just weird to me that you can commit a crime and then say that, hey, one of the 24 different personalities inside me did it. It's not me. And the fact is that he did walk away scot-free. You can see a slide here which talks about Johann, and he goes, the monster inside me goes stronger and stronger. Now, that's the entire point of my presentation. It's really not much. What I really wanted to do was show everybody that sometimes reality can be stranger than fiction. And in a field like ours, criminology or behavioral forensics, whatever you wish to call it, there's nothing which can completely rule out the exceptions, you know? I think that everything is possible. Taking into account crime, criminal behavior, and criminals, nothing seems impossible. I mean, just look at the news these days. There are so many new kinds of scams, so many new kinds of modus operandi, so many new kinds of murders, you know? That's pretty much all. Thank you.